Assalamu alaikum and hello viewers. Today we'll discuss about a leader's role in foreign policy making. That do leaders shape foreign policy? It is a question which is very much related to the students and researchers of international relations, particularly concerning with foreign policy. So there are various concepts and various explanations that how much leaders are responsible for making foreign policy. Of course, some leaders, they do have more influence than the others. So what are the reasons behind this? It depends on the circumstances of the decision making, that at which time and which place a decision is being taken. It also depends on the constraints, I mean the domestic constraints and the international constraints of the decision making time. It also depends on the case, that what kind of issue is there of foreign policy. It depends on a leader's personality, a leader's charisma, its position in the country, its position in the government, and also history. So in previous videos, we have discussed about the internal and external determinants of foreign policies. So now viewers, you will understand that how much they are responsible while having consideration of foreign policy related with a leader. It is more important to talk about that when a country declares war or go to fight and attack another country. So then what are the options available to a leader to pursue certain course of action? That depends. It also depends on the opponent's might. I mean, it depends on the relative power of your rival. That if a country attacks on another country, so they have to calculate the power, the prowess of themselves, then a country may resist or may surrender. We have example of the Netherlands. Hitler attacked on the Netherlands. So the leaders of Netherlands, they were of the view that they would not be attacked, but Hitler, when attacked, they were very much surprised. Why? Because Netherlands had a tradition of neutrality. Netherlands was out of World War I, and it was also neutral in the Second World War, but that was 10th May 1940 when Hitler of Germany attacked on Netherlands. That time even the leaders of Netherlands knew that they could not resist a mighty force of Germany, but even they decided that they should resist the German forces. So they fought. At last, of course, they were defeated. So it shows the determination of a leader, that how much a leader is determined about deciding an issue related to foreign policy. That also impact may be small when circumstances severely constrain their options, and their impact may be bigger when they have a broader scope of options or when they create their own opportunities. We have another example, that is Belgium. Belgium is a small state in the Europe. Belgium had no such kind of intentions to have a colony. So that was a run for making colonies in Africa, that is called Scramble for Africa in 19th century. So the other colonizers of Europe, they had colonies over there. The main thing here is the leader of Belgium, who was King Leopold II. He had personal desires to have a colony. So that's why he read extensively on the subject. He also traveled the European countries. He also consulted with experts and geographers. So even before his ascendancy to power and throne in 1865, he was very much ambitious to have a colony for Belgium. So that's why when there was a conference in Berlin, Germany in 1884-85, so he was there. And even before that, he also arranged a conference for geographers, explorers, and missionaries, and he consulted with them. Actually, he wanted to show himself as a humanitarian, but later on it was proved that he was actually having desire of the possession of a colony. So that was decided, and that 1884-85 Berlin conference, that the European powers, they said, okay, the Congo, a country in Africa, it could be given to Belgium, but Belgium had to assure that there would be free trade for the European powers. Belgium would not stop the flow of trade and the flow of goods going through Congo. And this man, King Leopold II, assured him. He got this Congo as a colony for Belgium, and this Congo remained as a personal property of the King Leopold II until 1908. I mean, it was not property of the Belgian state. Why? Because the Belgian people, they were not entrusted to have a colony. It shows that what kind of information is available to the public, what kind of accountability a leader fares. So if we see the situation, actually he was a leader, what we can call it the today's some non-democratic leaders of the world, that he had no fear of accountability, and the people, they were not very much aware about the information, and media that was not free at that time. That's why he possessed this colony Congo until 1908. Another example, we have also Anwar Sadat, President Anwar Sadat of Egypt. He was also not an elected president, so he made a peace deal with Israel. Of course, it got some benefits in course in the shape of aid, especially from the United States, and also having good relations with European powers, but some segment of the Egyptian society that was not very much happy about it. But he had the capacity to sign this deal because of maybe having not that free media, or people, they did not have that kind of access to the media. So the clever diplomacy is also very much essential in this regard, that how much a leader is clever, how much he has knowledge about international relations, international politics while dealing with other states, and having what kind of charisma, what kind of political party, or what kind of backup he has from his own colleagues, supporters, and public citizens across the country. We have also something to say about the childhood memories. Some leaders, they had not that good memory about their childhood. If we talk about the Joseph Stalin of Soviet Union and also Saddam Hussein of Iraq, they had abusive fathers. So that's why psychologists, they say that it is one of the factors that they became brutal when they got power. But on the other hand, it is not 100% right that this factor can play its role. Maybe one of the factors, because Hitler, who was very brutal, aggressive, he had a doting mother, but still he launched wars, and he was responsible, one of the responsible men for the Second World War. We have another kinds of leaders, that 4 types of leaders we can count, and that depends that how active or passive is the leader, that is how much energy he or she invests in his or her political office. And second, does the leader rate political life positively and derive satisfaction from it, or does he or she perceive elected office negatively in terms of duty? So the answer to these two questions yield four types of leaders as I will discuss. The first category is leaders who invest a lot of energy and derive a lot of satisfaction from the job. Those we can call it active positive. We have personalities just like Harry S. Truman and John F. Kennedy, the US presidents, or George H.W. Bush. Each of these men made efforts to be well informed. Each was willing to listen to the perspectives of their advisors, but also comfortable making tough decisions after evaluating the information presented to them. The second type of leader invests a lot of energy but perceives the job as a core. That is called active negative. I mean that these are the leaders who are primarily interested in getting and keeping power. Lyndon B. Johnson and Richard M. Nixon are often mentioned as fitting this category. So the former had a tendency to micromanage rather than to defer to specialists within the administrations. Nixon's preoccupation with power and his fear of losing it led him to engage in secretive and dishonest tactics that eventually cost him his presidency. The third type of president is less energetic but does find the job satisfying. That is called passive positive. Consider Ronald Reagan. He had jovial demeanor. His emphasis was on speech making and playing host, not on reading extensive briefing papers. The fourth and last personality category is also a less energetic leader. In contrast with the previous category, this one perceives the presidency as a core. It means that passive negative. Like the active negative type, this personality is motivated by a sense of duty. Dwight D. Eisenhower personality, this will develop sense of service to humanity. Another, when a leader decides about an issue of foreign policy, he is also to consider a system of that country. Just as the X-telegram, what was written by George Kennan, the then US diplomat from Moscow to Washington, he wrote the letter and he stated all the characteristics and features of the Soviet system and warned the US that this Soviet Union would be a rival and enemy of the United States in coming days. And it was proved later on in the shape of the Cold War from 1945 to 1991, how these two superpowers, the US and USSR, they were opposing each other. So viewers, today we talked about a leader's personality and a leader's role in foreign policy, that have leaders, they shape foreign policy. We will talk more about some important topics of foreign policy. Keep in touch. Thank you very much. Take care.